Check, 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 check. Audio check, audio check. Testing 1, 2. Audio check. Audio check, audio check. Testing 1, 2. Audio check. My check, my check, my check. Audio check, audio check. Testing 1, 2. This is an audio check. Testing 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Audio check. Yep, audio check. Testing 1, 2. Audio check. Testing 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Audio check. All right.
Hi, folks. Just letting everyone know we're going to get started in just a couple minutes.
Hi, everybody. If you could all take a seat, and we'll get started in a couple of minutes. Thanks for coming. Really appreciate seeing you.
Good morning. Welcome, everyone, and thank you for joining us this morning here in Dallas, Texas, at the Able Pump Station for the subject of our third Infrastructure or Engineering and Public Works Roadshow event. My name is Kevin Longley. I'm the Senior Manager of Public Affairs and Media Relations for ASCE. Just a couple housekeeping items. For starters, we will be doing a tour after all of this is over, so stick around for that. That'll be really cool. The city's been great to offer that to us, so thank you for accommodating. And then secondly, this is being live streamed, just for everyone's awareness, and hello to our live streaming audience. And you can find that not only on the city's channels, City of Dallas, but you can also see it on infrastructureroadshow.org. That's where we have not only today's event being live streamed, but we also have our last two events that were live streamed as well. And you can see any and all happenings so you get that good water treatment echo right there. That's how you know you're in the grace of infrastructure. But you can see all things happening from Infrastructure Roadshow on that website, so be sure to check that out. So we're lucky to be gathered here today on what is a somewhat more temperate 90-degree day here in Dallas, which for those of us who've been living in Texas for the last few months at least, is a welcome sign. It's nice to not be in the hundreds finally. And so while cooler days are ahead, they're lingering on just a little bit, but while cooler days are ahead, and that's something certainly worth celebrating, today we are gathered inside to be a part of Infrastructure at Work. This is just a really cool facility. You can just see everything just in the ground, making things happen, making the lives of residents in Dallas better, so it's great to be a part of this. And we're going to be celebrating this magnificent stormwater mitigation facility that has already had profound impacts on the surrounding area here by greatly reducing the risk of flooding to Dallas residents. And it's a fairly new project, already had huge impacts, but you'll hear a bit more about that later. A little over a year ago, the American Council of Engineering Companies, or ACEC, the American Public Works Association, or APWA, and the American Society of Civil Engineers, or ASCE, formed the Roadshow to highlight infrastructure projects that exude engineering and public works excellence, projects that have had a transformative impact on their community. We started with the Port of Long Beach in California last year. It was actually on Cyber Monday, which was fitting given that there were so many goods going through the port and over the nearby bridge, which we were also highlighting and helping boost that regional economy. It's had a huge transformational impact on the Pacific region from an economic standpoint. And then our second stop was this past spring at the Main Street Station Shed in Richmond, Virginia, which was just an absolutely beautiful restoration of a multimodal transportation station that now serves not only as a transit hub, but also as a community gathering place for local events, which is just a great marrying of architecture and infrastructure all in one. And now they're hosting not only concerts, but even fashion shows. Fashion shows are happening there. So fashion and infrastructure married together as you don't see it in many places, but it's a great spot. And now the Roadshow has arrived here in Dallas to celebrate resilience and safety, which are key tenets of any infrastructure project, but are especially prudent here along the Trinity River, where annual stormwater events had consistently disrupted life for Dallas residents. Thanks to the Able Pump Station, those disruptions are now less of a threat. Without going into too many details about the project, I'll leave that for the people who are much wiser than me and know the ins and outs of how this facility works. What I can say is this facility is no stranger to accolades from the Roadshow partners. You can see right over my shoulder, we have one from the Texas section of ASCE. In 2021, the Able Pump Station won ACEC's Eminent Conceptor Award and the ACEC Grand Award and Engineering Excellence Award. In 2021 also, the ASCE Texas section named the Able Pump Station its Project of the Year. And in 2022, just this past year, ASCE names the facility an honor recipient of the Society's Outstanding Civil Engineering Achievement Award, or OCEA. We'll hear more about the project itself soon, as we're thrilled to be joined by the City of Dallas Water Utilities and HDR, who led the construction and management of this facility. I'd also like to extend a special shout out to three firms that also played a major role in the planning, design, and construction of this facility, Half Associates, Inc., Campus Engineering, and GAI Consultants. We're also going to hear from Congressman Mark Vesey, a longtime advocate for resilient infrastructure projects that can improve the lives of all Texans. He'll be joining us virtually. As you may have noticed, it's a bit of a busy time on Capitol Hill right after the August recess. They've got a lot on their plate, but we're very happy that he's able to provide remarks virtually for us today. But before we get to those local guests, the leaders of ACEC, APWA, and ASCE will share some remarks. So with that, we will start with Tom Smith, ASCE Executive Director.
Well, good morning, everybody. Greetings. It's a great pleasure to be here with you, and thank you for welcoming us here. It's great to be here with this kind of infrastructure that's oftentimes out of sight, out of mind. We were shocked as we drove over here that our Uber driver didn't know anything about the Able pump station. It's like we said, "What do you do in Dallas?" She'd never been here, but she was fascinated actually to learn a little bit about it. And that's our goal today, is to make sure that more of the public, both in Texas but also beyond, know about what engineers and public works officials do to protect our public health, safety, and welfare. I want to thank you, Kevin, and thank you all for being here with us. This marks our third Engineering Roadshow project, as you heard from Kevin. We've been traveling around the country. We've been out west. We've been on the East Coast, and now we're here in the middle of the country, here in beautiful Texas. And it's great to recognize not just a bridge, but a train station and now a water project that really makes a difference in people's lives. It's been also a great pleasure to work with the American Council of Engineering Companies and the American Public Works Association. We have 10 years ago we've worked on joint projects multiple times, but just 10 years ago we created the Institute for Sustainable Infrastructure that developed the Envision Sustainability Rating Tool that's used for projects all over the country and in fact all over the world, to make sure that projects are sustainable and resilient and future ready and forward looking. And that's becoming increasingly important. And we need to make sure that the public understands the importance of our infrastructure, the importance of projects like this that, again, are oftentimes really out of sight. Increasingly, first off, for engineers, the number one priority, of course, is safety. Public health, safety, and welfare. That's what drives engineers and public works folks to get in this profession, to do the work that we do. Engineers have to plan for a variety of issues, and increasingly we're seeing more significant weather events. We have to plan for ice, and you've seen that in Texas as well. We've had to plan for flooding. We've got seismic issues, earthquakes, tsunamis, hurricanes, tornadoes. All those are issues that we're working on a day-to-day basis at ASCE, ACEC, APWA, to make sure that we're preparing for the future. What you often see in the news is when we have catastrophic events, and you can think of many that have taken place, where you see first responders who come in, and they're deservedly being recognized. They're being, you'll see them in the news. They come in and save lives. But what you don't see is the times that these things, that there are not failures, because our infrastructure is robust and resilient, and we put an ounce of prevention in instead of a pound of cure. That's what's happening here. Now, recently, if you looked in the news, we've been seeing flooding events all over the world, not just in the southwest of the United States, like we saw out in Las Vegas and other areas, but look all over the globe. 2 weeks ago, I was in Greece. We're meeting with our Hellenic section, and I should say that ASCE is a member-based organization. We have 150,000 engineers in 177 countries. So and we have 36 sections outside the United States that run conferences and do lots of different continuing education programs to advance civil engineering and to advance the public health, safety, and welfare. So I was meeting with our members in Greece in the Hellenic section in Athens, and we had that tropical storm Daniel come through. Remember, that's the one that went on into Libya and other countries. So in Greece, it shut down the metro system. So that means you've got kind of gridlock on the streets. Has a major impact on people's lives, and we have to be prepared for that. And that's what this project is about, because when we see flooding that comes through, it can take lives, it can disrupt lives, it can damage infrastructure, damage property, impact business, impact our productivity as a city, state, country, and it's impacting all over the world. We've seen flooding in Libya, Greece, Turkey, Brazil, Spain, China, Hong Kong, all within the last couple of weeks. So this is an example of why we need projects like this and why we need to recognize projects like this. Too often, projects like this are unsung. Uber drivers don't know where they are. They have never heard of the Able pump station. So we need to change that. And that's why we're doing road shows like this, and we're going to do it all over the country. We're going to mobilize also our sections and our chapters around the country to do similar road shows like this, because we want to make sure that the public understands the important work that engineers do. To many, water flowing freely from their taps and stormwater runoff and flooding being kept away from their homes is a given, something they don't think much about. It's only when these systems fail, unfortunately, that we often make the news. So when you don't hear about our infrastructure, usually that's a pretty good sign. That means it's functioning. You're getting your drinking water. Your sewage is being taken away. Stormwater is being managed. But we also know that we have to invest in our infrastructure. And that's one thing we have failed to do as a country. One of the things ASC does is we do a report card on America's infrastructure. We do it every 4 years. We've been doing it since 1998. This last report card that we did in 2021 was the first time we've been out of the Ds. We were a C- overall. So that was some improvement. Obviously, we're hoping to see some more significant improvement as we invest through the Infrastructure Investment and Jobs Act. That was a historic investment in our nation's infrastructure. The Inflation Reduction Act, as well as the CHIPS and Science Act. We've made a lot of good progress, but we still got a long way to go. This was really just a down payment on the investments that we need in our nation's infrastructure. As severe weather events become increasingly common in Texas, the understated facility here is working 24/7 to do amazing feats. It is helping keep families safer. It's allowing businesses to thrive without interruption, and that's something that doesn't go unnoticed in our world. We also know that flooding continues to be the most common and most costly natural disaster, disrupting power, water, homes, and infrastructure while impacting lives and families. So flooding is a key issue that we need to be prepared for, and that's exactly what was being done with this project here in Dallas, Texas. Now, funding from the bipartisan infrastructure law is helping the larger Trinity River community become more resilient. There are more than $400 million from the law that are dedicated to the Trinity River Vision, the Central City flood control projects, as the region doubles down on improving the resilience of the Dallas and Fort Worth area. This will ensure that Dallas residents, homes, businesses, and more are protected against major rain events. And ASC applauds Congress for approving these funds and localities and agencies for implementing them effectively. The Able Pump Station project and the nearby improvements are a wonderful example of what can happen when policy and funding from all levels of government work together to improve safety and protect lives. The bipartisan infrastructure law was the largest ever investment in the resilience of America's infrastructure nationwide. $50 billion from the law were dedicated to making our built environment more prepared for extreme and fluctuating temperatures, withstanding higher winds, and mitigating precipitation rates. While this legislation has the potential to transform regions and create more projects with impacts similar to the Able Pump Station, we'll never realize its full potential without a robust workforce strategy to carry these projects through to the finish line. A December 2021 survey from the U.S. Chamber of Commerce found that 91% of construction contractors were having difficulty finding skilled workers. We know that a large percentage of licensed engineers are nearing retirement age. Recent studies have also shown that a growing number of young adults prioritize careers where they have a positive impact on their communities. I'd be hard-pressed to think of any career that has a more impactful impact than engineering and public works for our youngest generation. Showing a student or young professional that an innovative infrastructure project like the Able Pump Station is the reason why their neighborhood is able to operate as intended with less fear of flood could be enough to lure these individuals into the world of STEM so that they too can one day say that they saved lives and contributed to a safer, more resilient, sustainable community. Thank you all.
Thank you, Tom. And now allow me to introduce ACEC President and CEO, Linda Bauerdar.
Thanks, Kevin. I feel like Superman up here. I've got an extra 6 inches from, I'm not sure I can read my paper from here. You know, what Tom was talking about just now really resonates with my recent experiences. I I don't know about you all, but I've been watching this show on Netflix called The Blue Zone, how people get to live to be 100. And one of the things they talked about was infrastructure in Singapore and how connected it is and how especially it helps elderly people feel connected to their communities and give them a sense of purpose. So infrastructure really does change lives. It is a game changer for people in all walks of life, but when I happened to be in Singapore last week and I saw it for myself, and sometimes magnificence is in, the architectural style. Sometimes magnificence is in what it returns to the people, right? And it could be digging in the dirt, or it could be erecting a massive skyscraper that inspires. But both are equally important. Let's talk a little bit about Texas. Everybody thinks I'm from Texas. I'm not sure why. Do you see anything about me that's Texas-like? Something about large and in charge? So just about 1 year ago, devastating floods rushed through the streets of Dallas, changing lives forever and causing billions of dollars in damage. Devastation like we saw from that flood was once unthinkable. But as Tom mentioned, storm events like that are becoming common. It's not the rare thing, it's not the exception, it's the everyday thing. So far this year, the U.S. has set a new record for storm disasters that cost $1 billion per event. Through September, we have had 23, and we have still more than 3 months left to go. To say FEMA is stretched, would really be underestimating. I don't have to tell Texans, and Kevin made it clear, this has been the hottest summer on record, you all know that. And it just must have been, it may have been the coolest summer of the rest of our lives. So think about that. It only gets better from here. But with that kind of news, we can all get discouraged. America's engineering industry, though, working with visionary clients, deliver projects that are going to help mitigate the negative consequences of these occurrences and help to save lives. We're designing bridges to withstand temperature swings between intense heat and extreme cold. We're developing skyscrapers that can safely handle increased seismic activity. And we're engineering pump stations like this one, which protect lives, homes, and businesses, and spur social equity and economic development. This pump station is an example of how engineering solutions mitigate the consequences of climate catastrophes that are increasingly seeming unrelenting. Projects like the Able Pump Station and the work of the engineers of ACEC member HDR, shout out for HDR, who designed the pump station, are the success stories that we're highlighting around the country with our roadshow. And these stories are not just about mitigating the problems when bad things happen. They're pages of stories, and Tom touched on this, pages of stories of engineering contributions that address the root of the climate crisis by reducing emissions through smart community design, decarbonizing buildings, decarbonizing infrastructure. Every day, our industry is building on a rich history of American ingenuity. And now, with the bipartisan infrastructure law, we have new projects to tackle, more lives to improve as we bring cleaner water, safer roads, and more reliable energy to communities coast to coast. But there's one hitch in this story. We need lots more engineers. Without more engineers, we risk losing time and opportunity to accelerate these very much needed engineering design solutions. So I know there's some students here today. I'm guessing you're one of them. Are there any other students here today? Are you a student? Yeah? You're not? You are? Congratulations. You're the one and only. I'm demonstrating the problem that we're having here. We need 25 students here today. We need more engineers. Spread the word to the students in your lives. We have thousands of job openings. Today, we need more than 82,000 new engineers to join our ranks to bring the work of the bipartisan infrastructure law and works like this pump station to life. By being here today to spread the word that engineers are essential. They are the front line for shaping a future that we can embrace rather than fear. So we need more, and the only way to get there is by joining together at events like this to promote engineers and inspire young minds to embrace engineering as a career and, more than that, as a mission. Thank you for joining us today.
Thank you, Linda. Scott Grayson, ACEC CEO, not APWA CEO, could not be with us today, but we are lucky enough to be joined by APWA President-elect Lisa Rapp. Lisa, the floor is yours.
Gosh, this podium's perfect. Thank you, Kevin, and thank you, Linda and Tom. And thank you, distinguished guests, for joining us today at this remarkable and important piece of Dallas infrastructure. At APWA, we are so pleased to be part of the Roadshow program. Kevin spoke about our two previous Roadshow stops. Well, and here we are today at the Able Pump Station. What is that? That replaced the two smaller pump stations. And Dallas can now pump the equivalent of an Olympic-sized swimming pool in just 15 minutes. Amazing. Some of the notable benefits of this new pump station are removal of 128 acres from the Dallas floodplain, protection of $13.7 billion in residential and business interests. It allows and stimulates riverfront revitalization, and it was completed within the budget. Was it worth nearly $70 million to build? We all say yes, definitely. Recognized and honored by ACEC and ASCE, the Able Pump Station is important to APWA because water resiliency is one of our three top public policy priorities. In our water resiliency policy priority document, we urge federal lawmakers to fully fund programs that support the maintenance and development of water infrastructure and work together to build on the opportunities the IIJA is creating through successful implementation. We believe in all forms of water: drinking, waste, stormwater, urban, suburban, and agricultural runoff, along with the infrastructure to collect, treat, store, and convey the water, must be considered an asset to be preserved and protected. All water on Earth follows a natural cycle that's continuously used and reused in different forms. Projects like this serve as a model for future projects. With the help of a fully funded Infrastructure and Investment Act, Jobs Act, many more infrastructure improvements will be designed and built. Water resilience and stewardship are fundamental qualities of healthy communities, and the Able Pump Station delivers on both. As public works professionals and engineers working every day to make our infrastructure stronger as climate change stirs unimaginable storms and natural disasters, Able Pump Station shows exactly how this can be accomplished. To plan, design, build, operate, and maintain such facilities as Able Pump Station, our three organizations are committed to the development of a well-educated and trained workforce at all levels, ready to take on this important work. Workforce development is one of APWA's three key strategic initiatives, along with increasing visibility of public works, something we're doing here today, and supporting diversity, equity, and inclusion in the public works profession. Dallas and the region are better protected because of this new technology. We believe it will be the inspiration for other American cities and towns to follow suit with the help of the IIJA, which, with full funding, will deliver many more infrastructure improvements and climate-resilient communities. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Lisa. As I mentioned previously, Congressman Mark Vesey is a longtime advocate for resilient infrastructure projects in the state of Texas. And while he could not be with us in person today, he did want to share his remarks on this project that is near and dear to him through a video, which we will play now.
Good morning, and thank you for the opportunity to share a few words with you all this morning about the Able Pump Station, a vital public works project here in North Texas. Since its beginnings, North Texas has tried to come up with several solutions to address flooding of the Trinity River. Flooding is an important topic of concern because it can threaten the lives of residents and cause significant losses in property. Unfortunately, American cities such as Dallas, Fort Worth, and other area cities are faced with aging infrastructure like stormwater systems, while the risk of extreme precipitation is increasing. The new Able Pump Station replaces a 50-year-old pump complex that protected Dallas from the Trinity River. This new station lowers the city's flood elevation and provides 100-year flood protection over 4 square miles. The improvements, coupled with nearby facility upgrades, are designed to keep Dallas's central business district and surrounding areas safe during major flooding events and help North Texas thrive. I'm proud that this investment, coupled with investments from the bipartisan infrastructure law, which I proudly voted for, are helping the Trinity River unlock increased resilience and address long-standing flood control issues in the city.
As I promised earlier, we do have 2 guests with inside knowledge of how this facility works, how it came to be, and why it was so needed in this area. So up first, please join me in welcoming to the podium Dallas Water Utilities Director, Sarah Standifer.
So good morning. Welcome to Able Pump Station. As my script goes everywhere, right? I can almost do it. I wanted to thank all of you. Organizations like yours represent the voice of a lot of employees and a lot of future employees that just don't know how to speak for themselves. One of my favorite things to do is to tell everybody, find an engineer. They'll tell you if it's safe, and they'll tell you when you ask them to do something wild, how far you've gone off the ledge, right? You're sitting at the home of Able, which is one of those examples that we really do talk about, right? It started with our partnership in the 20s. We went to solve flooding from the flood record in 1908, and we joined up with the Corps of Engineers and built the first of very small stations that were very large at the time. Our voter base here in Dallas has been incredibly supportive of flood control efforts and of our risk and management of those, right? So in 2006, they put the first investment in the Able Pump Station. They invested again in 2012. And then along came the Supplemental Bipartisan Budget Act of 2018 with the Corps of Engineers and that funding. So it's the first time the Corps was ever funded like a DOT, right? So they got full funding for projects, and we marched ahead with local and federal money in the tune of about $500 million. Outside of just this station, you can walk out and you can see levees being raised, levees being flattened, 2 new pump stations. You're going to see 2 brand new levees. This is just absolutely unthinkable to most engineers that have worked on this for generations. We've retired out 3 generations of engineers to finish this. And we look to the next generation to be able to take us forward, right? And to finish us off, because these investments are 50-year investments. Drainage is something that is here for the long haul. You guys are modeling. The drainage engineers finally get their call out, right? They took in climate change well before people called it climate change. We took in life safety before we talked about life safety. You just did it because it was right. And then you handed it over to a team of operations folks that then just wanted to make sure they kept your part in process, right? We work seamlessly on those. I couldn't tell you just how much these stations operate. This is one of 7 that we have in the city, part of a global system. And when we say global, it starts in Oklahoma. So we bring all the water down and we just go ahead and keep sending it to the Gulf. So drainage water, unlike wastewater and treated water, our goal is to get it off the ground and throw it somewhere. That happens to be the Trinity here in Dallas. And so this station took generations to come to fruition. We hope you guys are really successful in your adventure because we too have a gap. We have a gap in our engineering community, we have a gap in our construction community, and we have a gap in our operations community. This site has hosted thousands of engineer assistants, newly licensed engineers. We like to showcase it because it tells you a little bit of everything. It even gets the architects excited, right? When did you ever dream you'd come to a pump station that looked so futuristic? It looked really futuristic when the first designs in 2006 showed up. It's a partnership at every level. Our transportation partners have built bridges that accommodate the sump because we require fully developed watersheds, right? Things people didn't talk about, things that we've been doing, and we all work hand in hand and in tandem. As we move forward with federal funding bills, as we move forward with Jobs Training Acts, and as we move forward as a community, we need more of you, and we need more projects like this across the country. So we just can't thank you enough for coming, and we can't wait to show you the rest of the tour and see the rest of the facility. Thank y'all.
Thank you, Sarah, for joining us today and for sharing those insights. It's really interesting knowing the backstory here. Next, we have Lance Ferland, HDR's North Texas Water Business Group Manager, to talk a bit more about the project.
Thank you. So, on behalf of HDR and our entire team, I want to thank the ACEC, ASCE, and now APWA for the recognition pump stations received over the last, say, 2 or 3 years. It's been a lot, as you heard. That's been a lot of fun to be a part of. I also want to thank the City of Dallas for being such a great partner. Without them and their countless staff of their vision and their teamwork on this station, it just doesn't work. This project took a large team of engineers, consultants, contractors, and manufacturers to be successful. And as with any large project, Able encountered and overcame a lot of challenges. And some of those challenges included coordinating with the power provider to be able to actually start up, run, and have backup power for these very large pump motors. Multiple permit approvals were required. You can't imagine how many permits this station being put right here required. I still have nightmares about it. Navigation with the Corps of Engineers and the levee system just outside here, and making sure that this project did not interfere or undermine the levees in any way was definitely a challenge. And then when construction first started here, the first 2 years, you wouldn't imagine it after this year being so dry, but those first 2 years were 2 of the wettest years on record for the City of Dallas, which resulted in the construction site flooding several times. And the contractor at that time had been storing a lot of the discharge pipe, and you'll see the discharge pipe, very large, 108-inch, 114-inch discharge pipe, storing it outside the levee, or I guess I would say inside the levee, by the Trinity River. And at that time, when it was so wet, the Trinity River was actually out of its banks and almost to the top of the levees. So I'll never forget videos and photos of one of the 108-inch elbows that turned over on its back and was floating down the river a couple miles. So that was like a big boat. But anyway, that all being said, we all came together, we all worked as a team, and we did what we set out to do, which was to protect the City of Dallas from flooding. and that resulted in the largest concrete volute pump station in the United States. 1.3 billion gallons a day this thing can pump. As was said, we lowered the floodplain 6.5 feet, so that opened up 128 acres of new land for development in this area, and then it also protects a tremendous amount of homes and businesses, approximately 13.7 billion from flooding. So really, I'm just proud to have played a small part in that, and just want to thank you all very much again.
Thank you, Lance, and for all your contributions to this. I mean, it's just an astounding project for what it means to all these Dallas residents. I was joking with Lance earlier. At this rate, him and Sarah are going to have a residency at the Able Pump Station with how many times you're accepting awards and coming here. You're going to have beds set up upstairs. So for our final speaker of the day, I'm very pleased to welcome ASCE President-elect Marcia Geldert-Murphy to the podium.
Well, thank you, Kevin, and thank you, everyone, for the opportunity to be here. You know, you're with a group of engineers when we're talking about an architectural, monument in a pump station and sexy infrastructure at a pump station, but we are. And, this is personal for me. When I was 10 years old, we lived in Rapid City, South Dakota, and we lost everything to a flood. Everything. It's kind of interesting too. I'm being inducted as president in October, and they want pictures, baby pictures. They said, well, do you have any baby pictures? We don't. We lost them in a flood. So we lost everything. And so where most people will see a pump station like this and say, yeah, this is great. Yeah, the flooding's bad. But when it personally touches you and your family, we were very blessed. Our whole family survived. But it means something to me when I see infrastructure like this, because I know what it means. And it's the quiet things that we do that several of us have talked about, right? That we want everything to work well. I think Tom said it when he was up here initially. As long as everything's going great, nobody pays much attention to it, right? You get in your car, you go to work, or you go sit at your desk and sign onto your computer, and life is good. Water's flowing, your kids can go to school, you can pick them up from school, and everything's good. And that's because what we are all doing here is working. And, I appreciate all the hard work, not only of the engineers and the architects and the designers, but the operators and the maintainers of these systems. That is the critical part of these systems. We build beautiful systems, complex systems, but we need that team to keep it running. And they sometimes have to do really dramatic things and put in long, hard hours to make sure that it's still working too. And when we're talking about resilience and safety and doing what's best for our communities, and that is one of the missions of ASCE, is the health, safety, and welfare of our communities. As Tom had mentioned when he was up here, projects like this are a cornerstone to that mission. Engineers do follow a career path to do what is best for our communities. We want to help others. We want to make the world a better place. And I'm really glad we have one of our students here. By the way, I'll talk to your professor if you want to get extra credit, because that's why I joined ASCE in the first place. In all honesty, it was to get extra credit, but I'm glad I did in college. That's what we need to do is help you and the other students understand how important this is. And this is just the beginning. We finally got a bipartisan infrastructure law, and that's what it's really about when we talk about workforce. We want people to know that they're entering this career that is going to be a sustainable career for them too. We talk about resilience and sustainability, but it also has to do with the profession that you choose. And we need good engineers. We need good skilled laborers. And they need to know that we're going to take care of those professions and that there's always going to be funding for them. We talk about all the disasters that have been happening worldwide, and they are tragic. But even the small hazards on a local level are really disruptive. It makes for good video and good camera to see these tragic events that are awful because you know the people that are affected. But every single day we've got minimal, low hazard things that happen that disrupt our lives. And so what we're doing here and the work that we've been doing with the influx of money is helping us to address those so that we can all have a better life. They're not only important for us and our families, they're important for our businesses. You know, as Lance said, that this has opened up for economic development. That means a lot to small business owners, to the communities who need to be supported by those businesses. And we commend all of you who have been a part of this and making this amazing project that's doing all the good that it is and is also a monument for others who we need a lot more Able pump stations around the country, around the world. And we want to look to this project as an example of what needs to be done. You know, flooding has become so common, as Linda had pointed out in her remarks too. It's no longer, gee, this once-in-a-lifetime event. As she mentioned, it's a weekly event. And so we have to really support the investment, and that's what we need to look at it as. You know, when we don't support these types of investments, then we're paying a hidden tax by the disasters that we have to clean up. When we talk about the billions that we have to use to clean up after these events, that's a hidden tax we're all paying instead of investing in the infrastructure that's going to keep us from having to do that in the first place. So we need to keep that in mind. And we are the cheerleaders, if you will, of infrastructure. And so that's why it's so important to us at ASCE. My company belongs to ACEC and APWA also. So this is such a wonderful combination of all three of our entities and the work that we're doing together. You know, this is a great career. I always tell everyone, especially when I'm talking to students, this is the best time in the world to be a civil engineer. It really is. When I graduated, I was begging for a job, and I am not exaggerating. And now we need you so badly. So we've got to make sure that we're getting more kids involved in going into engineering and wanting to get into STEM or even into the trades. So we need more people entering public works fields if we're going to make the impact that I know we're capable of. The engineering community, as I said, is very close-knit. We really do support each other and help each other. And they're good paying jobs. So this is a good, commendable, honorable, noble profession. It really is. And I promise you, you will not regret becoming a civil engineer and helping your community. You won't. You'll be really proud, and eventually you'll drive your kids crazy because you'll take them over bridges and say, I built this bridge, and then they'll say, Mom, please don't tell people you built this bridge. It's embarrassing. But that's okay. With that, on behalf of ASCE, ACEC, and APWA, I'd like to call to the stage our speakers, Lance Furland and the HDR team, and Sarah Standifer of Dallas Water Utilities, as we recognize the Able Pump Station for its contributions to engineering and public works excellence. Congratulations. Thank you very much. We're so proud of all of you. Oh, they want a picture. We need a picture.
Excellent. Well, thank you, Marcia. And once again, a big congratulations to everyone involved in this project. You've done something absolutely tremendous for this community, and I hope you all are as proud as we are to just be able to be a part of it. That concludes the official program for today, but while we're here, as I mentioned previously, we've been offered a tour of the facility with Rick McCrae of Dallas Water Utilities. And also be sure to grab a Roadshow pen or a stress ball truck. They're over on the table over there and in your seats. And lastly, just as I mentioned before, we do post regular occurrences where the Roadshow is going to be next on infrastructureroadshow.org, so be sure to check out everything that's going on there. And once again, thank you all for being here today.